Okay. Found some music that is copyright free. Debut. It's their music, so sweet. So I was looking at shallograms. So I thought I would go through some shallograms. It's been a bit. I know no one's here presently, but I'm just treating this like a recording because anyone who's hearing this is probably hearing the recording. Okay. So, I'm trying to think where I left off. I'm just gonna go through this one. I think we talked about this one. Did we talk about this one? I don't remember specifically. No. You know, how about I go to your videos? Play this, they're live. Cool. Go here. Just check it out real quick. Where did we get? Okay, we're looking at a shallogram there. Is it entirely looking at it? I guess this one's entirely looking at it. So let's go back to 10. So it's been a while. Just trying to find where I left off. Okay, it looks like that one. Okay. Yep. Okay, so we were here apparently. Another triple tiered. This is gonna be of interest here, just later on. I think we'll get to this other shallogram where it basically is like a chunk, like here. Like this chunk, and we can see like this indentation on it. But it's pretty cool looking. But then they're triple tiered where the chakra is seemingly there for this one. The chakra is there for this one. Another one down here. So we can just go over here for some examples. Layered. This is not alone. In having this nature, it is not alone. This one. Sup, yo. Welcome, y'all. Pardon me, I just jump in. This one is directly stacked. This one, the chakras are not. They're not parallel ammonites. It's sideways. Like this boundary points at the chakra. Hey. Not a boat. And we got like 20 inches of rain or something. It wasn't too bad. Pretty windy at like a couple points. I was like, sketchy. I saw you posted your video. That was cool. I was gonna like it, and then I was like, I'm gonna record, and here I am. Like, I just looked at it. I was like, wait a minute. I was watching some other video. Completely different video. While earlier today I had this thought, like, it's kind of fucking lame Twitter has started making videos once a video ends. Like, it plays another video, and I'm like, I don't want to see this other video. I just want to, like, frequently, I want the video to replay so I can see the part I missed and see, like, the whole of it, or so then I gotta scroll back more, like, aggressively. Oh, shit. Can't let it play to the end. Then I'll play another video. But then your video popped up. I was like, wait. Because initially I closed it like, oh, another fucking video. I was like, wait. That said Portuguese Royal. Wait a minute. He posted a video? So that happened. So now we're looking at some shallograms though. It was pretty interesting. I like the two figures of Africa and Europe. That's about as far as I saw it though. It's like, pardon me guys, probably doesn't make any sense. More rain on the way. I'm not paying any attention. Is something else coming? Nice. Sweet. Sweet. I feel like some of these are very similar to this one. Here's one that's more similar to this one. Off to the side on this one. Chakra off to the side, but parallel, sideways, kind of layered again, layered again, layered again. This one's similar to another one that we might come to soon. Layered again, layered some more, layered. This one's layered like this, but it's also layered in a way where it's actually a single chakra that's just like eroding down into the next one. So it's almost like it has the same boundaries, but it's like more to a single chakra than three chakras that are kind of like, it doesn't have enough energy from this point over here to influence this region to make it extend the chakra instead another chakra, because the eddy is still happening above and below down here in layers, kind of like here. It's just this one was more of a single. It seems it like created generally the same like triple layering, but also ultimately like a dominant single eddy was involved here in this one. It seems. Also seems kind of related to these, how these stack. Another stacked one, another stacked one, stacked one. This one has even the lobe type thing out here. So like, and then this whole thing is really one of these. Another stacked, stacked, stacked. Okay, we made it through them. So that's the thing. Interesting how up to this, like, probably, what's the word? Like bend. Some bend in the surface where the erosion actually left like a mound along this path, it seems. Interesting that all below it is left-right, predominantly etched into the stone there, and then above it is all this way, off of the tip here, off of the tip here, as it tends to flow when anyone who's possibly just joining and doesn't know anything about my research, these are not ammonites. Well, they are ammonites, but they're not fossils. They are caused by water flows that shape the stones. Frequently having an outflow out of a tip here, top here, bottom here, 1/3, 2/3. That's like braces off the other side, it seems. And then having this tip current, though. Tip current that actually influences this region, it seems. And then again, where this other system is, it goes from predominantly this way to again this way. Almost as if there's a general current coming down this way. Let's go like this. It says 4, but it's always like bots and things, or at least one. And it tends to linger. Like if someone joins for a second, it'll just say they're there for like extended times. I don't know. Let's just kind of draw this boundary though. And then another boundary that seems to be related to here. Just, I guess, down to about there, that it actually, before it like bends, up until the bend is where this current at least there. I can't see elsewhere really in here. This honestly looks more circled, like up this way. Possibly eroding the dendrites. Let's do another color. Let's say aqua, like here. Like kind of eroding the dendritic structures into the stone by this circular pattern here that was dominating the surrounding currents. So it seems almost like the bottom half, at least to a point, I'm not sure if it continues, the bottom half has a predominantly like left-right motion of the current. I never played RuneScape. But then this one's going this way. And then again it's going this way over here. So we see it continue. So it really must have gone above it and then back down to the surface, where then it eroded some more. So it literally ramped this other current, it seems, while influencing it, like creating these eddies probably. Current looks vertical. see, we got some other... Let's go through some more images real quick before I go too far into that. So looking into this is here. So we definitely see some other paths there. It's possible it goes like this way, like from up here down and over, doing a pattern like that, and vice versa. Like, although this one seems to be going just down. Wow. Shallograms never fail to amaze me. Just all these little striations that just shouldn't be there. They just shouldn't be there. From a fossilization standpoint. This shape, oh man. Over there too, it's got the like extended tab thing, where currents are generally forming like one of these, but like extended beyond this up here, extending over here, possibly with like a water flow that's pushing this boundary, making this more solid. But over here, eroding it and kind of holding in the boundaries of this so that it has like a structure. While water currents generally has like portions getting around it, it seems. The way this is, like, whoa. Just wow. Cut right up to where the chakra is, like the base of it. It breaks out this way right at the other end. Like a weakness was related to where the chakra had current flow going down and around, but because the chakra's here, the flow didn't go down until it reached over here, which then made this region possibly more like frail and prone to breakage, it seems, or removal, possibly by breakage. But this is kind of curious how it has this corner maybe to even eroded that way. So we definitely got some currents like over the top here. So there definitely are some vertical currents in that way, if that's what you were referring to over here. Like over here. These are kind of sideways. Notably, this whole thing kind of looks like the shallogram we just talked about in the last episode. Almost like it had like a chakra over here, and this was like a lobe to a larger eddy, but the stone was eroded out of that, basically. Some manner where some other system, some other eddy center was outside of this over here. Possibly energetically coupled to this eddy. like bonding the eddy almost to the stone as it etched its surface with surrounding currents, but also this predominantly present eddy that was like right here, overlapping the whole stone, but centered over here. Kind of like chakras here and here. And a lobe going out like that. So it was like all within it. It seems possible based on the shape of the stone. Some other stuff going on. Chakras in there. Some more erosion. Also noticeably a rounded erosion where like current got out. Current goes through here and then it erodes out here. Through here, erodes out here. Interestingly, that shows us the collision. Like if we go back here, the reason this is happening on the side here is because current is going up and down and colliding at the center, at the far point where basically where outer pressures are pushing against it, creating a resistance point that the whole current is pushing into and eroding along the resistance. But then when this eddy that is within the stone form around the chakra, when this eddy fills the pressure, it doesn't just like push out everywhere. It physically starts to etch cracks at energetic weak points, which are its energetic, like high energy points, which is its far point here where the currents collide. So then it emits a jet stream pretty much out of that far point, as well as the top point where all of the pressure below, that's anything going up, is applying a general pressure into this region, which then emits a jet stream that way, and vice versa down, so that it systematically has these points maybe the eddy itself over here racing. But here we see evidence of it going this way, over the top, and down below, colliding, but they don't actually connect. So as they approach one another, the current just flows out of the stone instead of continuing into the resistance of one another. They pretty much compact the material enough between, I guess. Like it doesn't erode into it enough, it just compacts it enough where it doesn't flow that way and instead flows out of the stone, where the compaction is high enough pressure to just push the flow out of the stone into the surrounding pressure, because there's surrounding pressures. If the surrounding pressure is overwhelming, then it doesn't care that there is this other current in front of it. It still goes forward, because that is still the path of least resistance. But because the path of least resistance is outside of the stone due to the presence of the other currents, in this case specifically, it led to an exhaust of the currents to a point where it not only goes, like it's going towards this, and this is going towards it, but then as soon as it exits the stone, it deflects away this way. So it actually erodes not this way, but down and away from it, because this current is pushing into this current. So it just is deflecting away to do almost like a come to a point so that they're not, or else just overlapping. Like it might just flow over top it, like the other side somewhat enough. With this rounded portion of the stone, maybe it can kind of flow over top it over here, because there's like a void underneath pretty much that runs around it. So it might have allowed it just to go over, but it definitely deflected it here, and it looks like it eroded out here to approach there, but again it just drained out the side. Still going that way, pushing the boundary here where this is kind of pointing at. And maybe over there too again, like a different energy. Here, here, here kind of thing. In a manner that maybe reflects how the teeth form, which we don't really see in this shallogram, like these things. Here's what I mean by that eddy, though. We don't see it, but there's an eddy forming here and here that is then like leading to these dendrites, and I suspect that's happening here in this stone, in this point, if we go back. Like up there and over this way. Possibly over here too, more subtly. But more so like a large one generally forming there. It just isn't eroding in. So it hasn't formed the structure. So it looks like, well, the structure's not fossilized from the fossil. But since these are all etched by water currents and not fossils at all, then it makes sense. It just didn't etch it. That's what I was getting at. I kind of just threw that in to finish my sentence. Yeah, and then it makes sense. Down also seems some kind of exhaust this way. Was going down through this way and into this region, and then go, I guess, running into resistances here to generally join over here and lead to more current this way, because it seems to start like this thing seems related to where this etching begins. Okay, let's move past this one because I spent a lot of time on it already, and it's one of many, and I didn't even mean to talk about that one. Pretty cool, this one. Lots of little details. I like the way this like widens. It's like opening like a shell or a zipper, unzipping maybe. Something of that nature. That really makes sense, honestly. Some kind of energetic unzipping in the way that like a structure that is atomic, fractal, iterative, fundamental structure like this. Some way that it behaves that is like a zipper, that is like actually bonding and breaking and different energies forming to the point where it actually is doing this. Maybe even like DNA and things. Makes me think of the way DNA can like, or RNA, the way they replicate and things. Maybe it is like a DNA of the shallogram. So another one from Rudraksh Guru. This one was from Sri Rudram. This one was from Rudraksh Guru. Okay. Trying to remember what exactly I took these images for, besides just that it's cool. Like, there's probably some features in here I thought was anomalous. Like, this is certainly approaching anomalous. It's got like the ribs over here kind of forming, but not really. And then forming there. Some stuff going on there that look kind of like the... Whoa. It looks almost like there's flows like this way. What? Whoa. Wow. That's so clear as day, too. It just flows down. It's just like flow this width, maybe even further. This whole area flowing over this way. Around here. It looks like it got caught in here and went like this way. Possibly cut in here. Oh, it's like a chakra here. Like an eddy this whole space. Maybe current was actually flowing into it and it was eddying here and like exhausting out this way or something. It really looks like we can see the flow patterns in a way that shallograms don't typically have this type of detail. It's not everywhere in the stone. We can only really see it pronounced here. Don't think there's any other images of this. Of that specifically. Like, what is it even doing here? Wonder if current could possibly be going off of here and then kind of eddying up this way, or maybe going this way and making up here and then coming back in across here maybe and interacting in there. And then pushing further across. What in the... Almost trying to form a chakra here. Like a nucleus here and another chakra. Like a chakra this way. But it's doing like this side of it. Chakra, other chakra. Only doing one side. Is that possible? Maybe it would even like do it backward. like cut in here, start cutting across, cut all this out, and basically turn the chakras in across this way to the point where they actually are opposite one another. If it were to continue to form like an actual chakra here and a chakra down here that is generally here, maybe it would etch further into the stone, remove all this stuff, possibly recycle it into the material. Probably just etch it in a case like this, though. Remove it. And then form new chakras, because it does that. It vibrates between, like, the dominant eddy that shaped the shalogram. Sometimes the dominant eddy is, like, showing signs that it was losing its dominance, or some other eddy was starting to overprint the first system, but like then the current flow stopped enough where it stopped doing that, and then the overprinting is only like somewhat visible, but it's there. Like this seems to be one of those cases. Like maybe here as well. Or chakra, where it could like remove this out here. It didn't have the space or the energy or the circumstances to, but it seems like maybe it was energetically beginning to do the steps necessary, just not doing it. This one's incredible. It really is mind-blowing. The curves, baby. The like right here, and again, it's so yin-yang looking too. Like void with chakra, and then a mound. I don't know. It seems very yin-yang, like. It's so cool the way it just eroded this whole segment. It kind of gives me the impression that it did something like these ones. Maybe like this, but way bigger along this area, but where it also got into the stone and made a ammonite structure. Not quite like this, but a glancing blow. This one goes directly in like a drilling current, and then makes an eddy that then forms an imprint of an ammonite shape by the mechanics of the eddy within the stone. Whereas this one glances off and flows out, so it just goes in, flows out, and generally forms a overall eddy that forms chakras, but it's much more of a flow in that's a glancing blow and out compared to the other one, whereas they come in with like a drilling outer current that cuts the outer boundary like this. So it's possible that they one went in like off the side of this structure and just eroded it just based on these striations being so prominent there and the smoothness of it over with all this here. Almost like it just didn't care and over printed it like a really potent current could do. That's one of these types of things that's able to actually cut through the stone entirely. Kind of like this. how it leads into a current flow that leads into an ammonite here. Like it flows along the stone and then it cuts in and forms an ammonite. Flows along, and some of it though seems to like go behind this lip and cut in behind the mass of the stone in this resistance where it's not just able to just remove the stone, so it just goes in and swirls within there and starts to form outlet channels underneath the eddy. As it like removes material, it forms an eddy, and then it forms outlet flows underneath that eddy that cut these channels out that then begin to shape an ammonite shape right here. That seems like it maybe is not this entirely. I'm not completely sure. Like the way this is, that's really cool. I mean, I guess it's this chakra. It goes to the whole thing. Then some outlets over here that are really prominent, like big openings. And then over here it seems to fade off, which would suggest like if a current's flowing through and cuts in behind this and swirls, that it would generally like cut short circuits out somewhere that's more towards where it comes in than like over here, more immediately finding a way out, leading to more larger pores over here. Crazy. There's another one there. I guess I really don't know what to make of whatever happened here. It's hard to visualize if something's awry, or if it's just like a typical ammonite shape that's just subsequently eroded. Maybe that's what happened, is it already had the ammonite shape, and the current, possibly a current related to its formation, but like possibly grew in it magnitude and just began to cut into the stone like this. I'm not sure what to make of it. Looks like it had like a focal point over here, the current going up this way and running into the resistance here and just drilling in and cutting in there to a point where it actually removed the shale and left behind pyrite. Definitely some anomalies to this stone. What's going on here? Like, these are overlapping for no apparent reason that fossils would do that. The shape of this is so cool. Like, this is clearly a continuation of this. It's almost like a wave that has an inlet at near the nucleus where it spirals in. But like over here, current flow does not go in. It bounces off this mound and goes this way, but then the current flow, it seems, maybe is going this way around here. So it doesn't go in here, it actually passes an outlet and goes across out this way. But then it runs in over here and goes in along this way to then spray out along all of the channels. Seems plausible, something due to the resistances of the currents, that something of that nature is happening, where it's just generally like a wobbly current. Wobble, wobble, but then it wobbles and buckles inward, kind of thing. And then these boundaries over here that are just not in the right, like, plane. They're not in the right position to be part of this. But it's clearly, the mass is clearly part of it. It's got the teeth boundaries over here kind of randomly also. I really like this one. It's kind of basic in terms of it's like no openings. But it's really incredible. And then the back just very smooth. Got a video for this one. Oh, we saw a little something there. So maybe it was trying to get in there, like the way it went in there, trying to get in. Outlet here, so current running by tries to get in before this, like bends off of it and cuts in to the stone. Yeah, it's very cool. The brown ones like this. Like it has an outlet here. And then another flow, I guess, connected around here. Another flow that will draw as another color, even though it looks like it's the same current. That is flowing in this way. And runs into this, so it deflects into the stone and away. Both. But some of it goes into the stone, leading to this boundary. But then it continues. And then it seems it actually goes in. And possibly what doesn't go in kind of just continues that way, but then like because there's a resistance that I perhaps is generally into the stone this way and maybe this way, leading to the outflow being that way and the flow being in this way. So like overwhelming pressures from these sides and from above and below being generally equal. But above and below the stone, but then from this side and from this side having an inflow into there. It's actually influencing this inflowing current that's actually shaping this. I'm wondering, let's say, customize. If it gets to the center, let's say it goes around the eddy and does this thing and starts cutting these ribs because it's gotten to the center and it has nowhere to go, so it's cutting these things and it's going out and leading to the paths generally around here, wherever they are exactly. But let's just say, hypothetically, there's not enough room. The current flowing in is being drawn into this more than the outflow, to the point where maybe another current basically branches back out from the center. Because it's got this area that almost looks like there's an outflow here. It goes out that way. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. Shoot. Definitely is an indentation there. Definitely an indentation there. Wow. Wow. These shapes over here are just subtly becoming more the suture patterns of Norm. But they're starting out almost as this like mouth looking thing. Very reminiscent of the one that I spent a lot of time looking at. That has the... I guess I can just pull it up instead of putting a tiny image there. Just the way these are. I forget what I was even talking about now. What was I looking at in here? Oh, the suture patterns. Could this be related to a really large shallogram suture pattern? I don't know. It's so hard to tell at that point. Not really thinking about it. Okay, then there's some others from Rudraksha Guru that are pretty cool and definitely worth looking at, but maybe I should skip through these. Like, we can see a spiral here. I thought that was cool. Starts here, goes over this way, and then goes out beyond it. It's definitely spiraling, although it kind of joins itself here. So it's forming like a spiral and a circle that have like the ammonite mass at the end. So like a nucleus and then the end of the ammonite down here. Kind of thing going on. And it's got this cross current, maybe another one here. Interacting. Leading to an eddy. Like maybe this current going across this way is running into this current going down across this way, and it's deflecting a portion of this current off of it over this way, which then leads into it running into other pressures that push it up. Like this is like a balance point current maybe between pressures above and pressures below, so when it pushes it down, it then goes up past this balance point current. But then it's up in the current over here that's pushing down this way. So then it deflects from that current, but then I guess it's also like the shock, the pole of the shallogram. So it has polar aspects where then it's like going around the stone, leading to an eddy, it seems, around the pole. Some kind of polar energy that's just like a thing with how chakras tend to form, but can happen in the pole of the shallogram. This is also very porous. Definitely was eroded by the current flows of water going through it. This one's real cool. The layering, like, whoa. So cool. More like geological. Not really anything that someone would be like, oh, that's a fossil. Just geological. And yet it still has, like in this instance here, in this one, still has a spiral. Why does it have a spiral? Is there a fossil in there? Do stones adjacent to ammonites form spirals in them for some reason that other stones don't do? I've never seen a stone with just a spiral in it. Not an ammonite shape, like a fracture that physically spirals. It seems pretty significant, like actually passing the boundary like this. Like, what is going on with this fracture thing, this like quartz intrusion vein in this stone? Almost. What is going on with this? Why is it a spiral if ammonites are fossils? And then this one. I feel like this kind of points to some aspect of the process that maybe is worth thinking about. Where, like, all these grains could be visualized as shallograms in a larger scale process that this stone and the other stones are all part of, that then the like pixels eroded enough to then be shallograms that we find today, but they're really like parts of some flows that were propagating in a material of multiple components that then across the layers interacted, like creating actual this one doesn't seem to really go into the layers very much. Like where it deflects up here, it really seems to have like little fractures, if anything. Like we can see going across this way, the way the black is, and yet going around it this way, and yet going this way, and yet going this way, having some kind of boundary here. This, like, why is this boundary? We just followed around, and then it's like broken by this shoved piece up here, almost like it's preventing the flow of some like propagation around this that's leading to like subtleties here, like flow doing something like this. Like maybe it's coming in this way up through this little path, literally a current flow that then goes this way and fills pressure over here, but then deflects this way, fills over here, and then deflects above it, and then gets across here apparently because it kind of seems to fan out there, and then gets through here enough where then it goes back this way, back to here, around, exhausting out that way somewhat, but then going back this way, over here, exhausting more that way as this like pressure fills. It seems like there's a current flow that's actually present in these greens. Same here. Okay, let's go a little faster. This KRE on eBay. Thought this was interesting shape the way this is. It's definitely got little teeth there. Like eroded there. Oh man, this shape is cool. It's like a... I look at this and see a deuterium atom. Proton, eddy, right, eddy, proton, mass, neutron. Proton, neutron. Possibly another proton, actually, or neutron. Possibly two neutrons, or maybe even a tritium. Oh my gosh, shit. It looks like a little chakras and some lobes possibly over there. Whoa. Very cool. And just the shape. It looks very fish-like, actually. Like, it's not exactly symmetrical. It's got maybe less fish-like in its asymmetry. This one's pretty cool. I really didn't want to skip ahead to the ones I wanted to talk about. I made it to 1,000, so I thought I needed to make an episode because we made it to 1,000 shalograms that I've stolen the images of, well, with permission. Some permission and tracking who they're from, but probably stolen, I don't know. This one kind of bends up here, but goes there. Okay, let's kind of go through this one real quick. Okay, so each. This from Rujosh Guru. What do we got? We got the ammonite here. Again with those cross currents. And again though, notice they're not passed, like right here. Over here, it might actually have some kind of, I don't know. Definitely some weird stuff going on over here. It's almost like it's dropping the chakra really steep and fast, but in a way that it's not actually, doesn't have the space to. It's just like in that moment, in tiny little space, it had the energy to actually create like a huge eddy system, but then immediately it enters into like the more this kind of eddy system environment, maybe. By the way, that's kind of how the impression it gives me, like an abrupt drop off, but bending outward still, and having some kind of relationship back to the chakra. Looks chakra-like. Some relationships over here as well. This thing, let's just keep going though. This one I think was mostly because this was so anomalous. Like, what is going on here? There's chakra there, but I think the other chakra is there. So we got a tiny chakra with a little lobe here, and then over here it's got a lobe. But then, like, this current, a current flow. So it seems like what's going on here? It seems like the eddy had an outflow this way, just because it's off the tip. I mean, I want to say it was flowing this way and just continuing across this way, and some of it went up in here and eddied. Like, I want to say that because that's more just a continuous current path. But it does seem kind of like it's at a little too much at the point of this kind of sharp lobe shape. Maybe it's doing up, down, and then down, up. Trying to go up sooner. I don't know. Or up. I don't know. Some more squares with circles in them over here. Kind of run into those occasionally. Like, very much like that. I've seen several times. I've not noticed them. Interesting. Adjacent to something about the same size. It looks like it's also, here's another one. Looks like current flow going into this space, pushing out a boundary, eroding around it, but in a way where it literally pushes out a square boundary. But it itself is a circular boundary, so it erodes between the pushed out boundary and the circular boundary to then have a circular inner shape and a square outer shape that has a like window looking shape like this, and then it moves over here, does it again, and then it skips up this way though. And then here, where it kinda did it again, but then it skips in here, and then it really gets into the stone here. It's probably going in here, filling the pressure to a point where imagine the stone is at an angle, current's going into it, it actually can get into the stone. Like, I'd like to save those pictures, but oh well, they'll be in the video. Like, it's going physically into the stone, and then the stone though is gonna have like pressure stone at point A. It's gonna have a like inside the stone though, not like exactly there, but in terms of like the stone itself is going to exert a pressure into this region, and as this current flows into the stone, this pressure goes up. So then, because it's at an angle, like deflecting off of a boundary here, it seems to, not here, but in terms of, like, it moves over here to B, where the current has not directly flowed in, so it has a P stone B less than P stone A, at which point it pixelatedly skips over there because the surrounding area is filled with pressure too. So it skips over there and then it reestablishes a place where it's pumping current flow in to relieve some of this back pressure of, like, stuff behind, or not back pressure, stuff behind the current. Is that back pressure? I feel like back pressure's in front. Oh my god, why do I not know the definition of this word exactly in a technical sense? I keep saying it in the inverse way, I think. Yeah, like in front of. This is resistance to flow. I mean, pressure forcing the flow behind it is a certain amount that can relieve, like, P water, let's say. It relieves some of it there, so that P water drops a little bit, just a tiny bit, because it's overwhelming pressures, but, like, locally the pressure drops, so it's more able to vent there. Until, though, the pressure of the stone is higher than the pressure of the water, at which point it does this, and then it does it again over here to this one, where it, like, latches in more and etches and actually cuts a void in there. But then I guess the pressure of the stone goes up until it exceeds the pressure of the water, the pressure of the stone at this point, so that the current can no longer go in. So it literally, like, gets in. So imagine, like, trying to move something. The current is physical. Like, even though it's like water, trying to move a current that's latched into something is physically latched in. So it's not freely moving until it's been detached by, like, a pressure that allows that current to move out of the pressure point and then reestablish a new pressure point and go in there instead. And that's what's going on here over and over again. I'm sorry if I am kind of beating a dead horse, but I feel like maybe it is worth talking about P stone D until finally it gets in here where it really is at, like, the general local low energy point where, like, the surrounding pressure is all generally pushing towards that area, which then leads to an eddy that can't escape. Oh, I can't escape. That pushes out the boundaries, starts to etch like so, and then this current has then produced an ammonite by literally going into the stone over and over again. Just like how it can happen like here. Chakra, it's hard to see, chakra down there, and then the current flow going in an eddy though, but like flowing in a vortex, cutting in like a drill, and then getting into the stone, and then ballooning inside while shaping it like an ammonite. Okay. So this is another one from Rudrak's Guru. Got some chakra over here, chakras over here. Some stuff going on there that looks kind of like it maybe is one of these types of areas over here. That the rock is like a larger piece of, like this whole chunk back in would be like all of this. To a larger system, perhaps. It's hard to say from that angle. Some stuff going on here. Definitely can see these lines over here. These lines over here. That the up down here that tends to happen on one side. There again, the chakra extending outward, and again doing it on the bottom right side. I don't know if that's just circumstantial. I mean, generally circumstantial, but it might be also like systematically. That's what the circumstances like bring forth. I don't know, or it might be truly dependent on the shape of the rock and circumstances, and not really a tendency as much as a circumstances. But definitely a relationship between this little pyrite strip and that crack. Whatever's going on there. Some layering here, kind of like that shoe. Kind of like the shoe. It reminds me of the shoe. Whatever that Danish dancing shoe, clog. Reminds me of these layers here, the way this is. I don't know. Not saying it like totally like it. It's just also this goes into this, which seems to be related over here as well, maybe. Although that seems to go more that way. Some lines in there. Layers all up and down here. Almost like boop, 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 boop. That seem to continue down here. It's cool. I don't remember anything like especially to make of this one without really staring at it too long. I don't want to stare at this too long. We're almost to 1,000. I'm already kind of yawning, realizing I woke up pretty early. Oh yeah. So this ammonite shape here seems to have restricted whatever's going on here from influencing further, and then maybe continuing past it though. Like this is probably related to this, like going across and then up and out, but then down where it actually like ran into pressures that moved it over to this area to then go out over here. Which kind of makes sense that it would move it to about as far as this extends. Like moves it over to that height and that way. but ultimately in like a wave type thing. Little square thing again. So that, whenever there's a square like that, it would suggest, based on what we just saw, is that even this one or is that the previous one? It's crazy how I look at a previous one and then the next one has some feature that kind of makes sense then. I mean, that's so square. I've come across little square etchings like that. Maybe it's literally a current flow in a circle type thing here that actually led to a boundary current that etched the square in there for some reason. Some like recessive ammonite shapes in here. This one seems to be trying to form a huge lobe and being way bigger than the little ammonite we see there, but like interacting with other stuff. We can even see like the roundedness of the stone. Oh my god. So epic. The current itself continues this way, etching in over here, going like way out that way. But then like the resistant currents generally led to a softer boundary here. So cool. Again, kind of doing that eddy type thing where it has an inner boundary that wraps around and then rejoins. This one's crazy. I'm not sure if this is a chakra, obviously chakras, but this almost looks like a chakra up here. I don't know what happened there. I don't think that's in the original image. We can see current along the bottom that fans upward, down, up, up, and like out that way, and pretty much joins this flow, going up and out, and around probably too. I'm going down below it, down, but possibly generally trending up this way, it looks like. Which is kind of forming like a chakra here, up, and like cutting out if it were to cut this. But it's very recessive, where like it didn't do it. But it gives me the impression that it could have done that and could do it and does do it when forming chakras. Like if we could zoom in on the processes that the general eddy in here had, maybe they had smaller things of this type of nature where they've actually had like an eddy interacting with another eddy, where that eddy's current flowed through that other eddy, and that led to like the overall structure having certain boundaries, so that like that's what happens on the small scale too. It's just harder to see to the point where it's just like one eddy was there, as far as we can really physically make out. It had like once we realize that these are eddy induced, current induced. Very cool the way it has this repeated like teardrop, like tears. It's the tears of all the scientists when they realize that this is actually the reality of the situation and it's not just some crazy shit some dude's saying. There they are. I found them. They're stored away in stone for the ages to come. It's kind of like repeating over there too. Sorry guys, I'm just making it funny. I wasn't. It was lighthearted. I swear, it wasn't like. Please don't take offense, scientists. Can't even make jokes. It's kind of like the crisis we're in. Actually, this pyrite seems to go all the way up to the chakra. Maybe more over here than over here. Okay, let's get through this one. Some interesting paths off of this, and the way it's kind of forming like multiple layers, like it did at the beginning of this episode. Although now it doesn't look so much like that. Dividing the rock energetically with like the equatorial belts and Damodar, the belt tied around Krishna's waist, where the poles, equatorial current, pole. Here's the one that I first was mentioning that kind of remember how this erodes in, so it's like we're looking at a structure like inside here where like an ammonite imprint is internally here, and then we're kind of looking at like the lobe itself, the way it's shaped, having this and over there like, is very much like how this is. With the pointy, where this can be like missing, so it can still have like this and be like that without so much pointiness. And like eroding there, and then there's just two sides. This one's insane. I could look at this one for hours. I almost need it in my hands to look at it closer. It's not that impressive from like just it's an ammonite. It's more that it's material. Really, like you can really see traces of the current in the surface. Like it looks like it's generally a circle node here. Maybe an eddy, more so. Over here. Just patterns. So many patterns in this one. Hard to see. To really make out what's going on, but I imagine like a real close scrutiny of this shallogram would actually bring to light some things. Like for example, we've got a lobe that looks to be off of the center here and up this way, and then another lobe off of the center here and down this way that's really subtle and barely detectable. And then this has like a lobe here that's kind of formed there, but this outflow seems to have etched those two paths more. Almost like it was splitting the eddy into two separate components. Not fossils. Just really cool features. Definitely lots that could be taken from this again, in terms of just the patterns on the surface. And then this, whatever is going on here. Looks like an eddy here. Another tiny one there. Looks like chakra there, chakra there, chakra there, chakra there. But like, what's going on? It looks like many of these types of things were happening. All one atop another. But like, here's a chakra, or is this a chakra? And this is a lobe, and this is a lobe. And these are the chakras. Kind of like that one that we were looking at here, where it looks like a chakra might be up there. Is this a chakra, or is this a chakra? Clearly it's this one. But in this case, it's not quite as like definitive. Is this chakras and two lobes, or chakras and then another system? Just everything that's going on here. Some more chakras there. Some larger ammonite shape there. Possibly chakra there. Looks like I want to, like a chakra there. So we got a sideways chakra there, an ammonite. Definitely in different planes. One atop another for no reason. Although this one's missing, so okay, fossil pieces of fossils. They're all just pieces. You just take any part we possibly need and insert it where needed. Oh, yep, that's the one piece. What about when they are fluid and take different shapes that they don't actually have anymore, but you can see the imprint from when it had the previous shape, but now it doesn't have that shape? Does that also just happen? No. Science rewritten. This one's pretty crazy. There's a lot going on. The chakras there. But this looks kind of related to this. Almost like an energetically extended outward. Kind of. It's certainly separated, but in terms of some energetic relationship, seems to be present. Also, notice this shadow. There's an opening through this segment. So it almost looks like a current went through here and actually cut through there. But possibly went in here and here also. And here, kind of just like going in several points in this stone over here. One of which it drilled through, but other places it did not get through and instead eddied within the stone. Like here. Here it got through, here it eddied. So we can see it got through, eddy. So maybe it like, oops, physically flowed in here, and instead of cutting through the stone, it wrapped around, removed material, and went around and out. Maybe? Whereas over here, it actually just went through. And here, and here, it was all of these. I don't know what to make of it exactly. It's very peculiar. This I find really interesting. Like these lines here seem to continue over here. Almost like ribs, but they're like deep etchings that seem to continue as if they're part of some structure like that. It's very strange. And then there's this. What's going on here? How can we claim that this makes any sense? Hey, scientists. Hey, scientists. Hey, scientists. I'll play that again. Hey, scientists. Where are we? We got the chakras. We got the lobe and the other lobe. But then we got another lobe. What the fuck is this? Scientists. Doesn't even make sense. It has to be explained by pure coincidence. Well, sometimes there's trace fossils that are in the mud, in the shale, in the material, in the matrix around the 2B fossil, and they're influencing it based on the shape of the 2B fossil. It's simple, they're just following the shape of the fossil. What do you mean? Is that the shape of the fossil? It curves like that? We don't care, we already know. These are fossils, what do you mean? So many proofs. Okay, we are one away. Some teeth here. Like, what are they doing there? They should be here. Here. Not here. Should not be there. Unless their current flows. Then they could be there. Because currents can go places. They go all over the place. They don't give no fucks. They go here, they go there. It's all about the pressure for the currents. So if the pressure was low enough there, because it couldn't get through elsewhere, like it was trying to come out through all these and out here, but instead it came out there, interacted with cross currents and vibrated in a way to actually create like a tooth-like thing, then it's actually possible to just be there and not be like too anomalous. Whereas seashells, it's just like, what in the fuck are we talking about? Here's another lobe, chakras, barely forming, definitely recessively forming, also doing it here, lobe, chakras, like this one. Lobe. We actually see the ammonite chunk in this one. Chakras, lobe. And this lobe over here is much more like that one that was along the chakra. Let's find it. Let's go find it the other way. Let's find it the other way. And this one. It's doing this on one side, but it's doing it this way, sideways that way. Oops. Kind of forming a chakra here with like these crack type things. It's just doing it in a weird way where like the over here is like a eddy type thing that's interacting underneath the chakra here over here, so it's kind of doing it. And then it's going over and up this way, and in this case, it's going that way. Crazy. I don't know what to make of it exactly. The way currents can propagate. It's just pretty much eddy here into another eddy over there. It's just happening within the space that then is leading to another eddy in another plane. And then here again, on top of it though, some features. Okay. Last but not least, shallogram number 1000 in my list of shallogram images. This shallogram, let's find an image in his hand. Whoa. It's huge. It's huge. It's huge. Something cool about huge shallograms is they tend to always have really unique features. So we've got these things going on here that then are oddly, the way it eroded around here is so cool. Like, what? It's almost like they were exit points where current was exhausting from, like volcanoes, porously through the material though, that produced a mound, but then exhausted material and produced like a boundary, so that like the material is the way it is. Even this even has like a little slit in there, maybe suggestive of an outlet current. Maybe. Unsure what to make of it and why it would be like that. Clearly they were larger and more nub-like, and are not anymore. Which makes me think it like blew its top. Maybe all of them blew at once. Like it was almost like if you like close your nose off and then blow, pop out your ears, like blowing some pressure out. All at once though, through these valves that apparently conform. That's my thought on why that would be like that. It looks like this color actually extends back to over here more than like between it. Extends back to here and then between it, which means there's probably a relationship to this exit current to this whole area, which would suggest that the current exiting there from the interior actually was getting into the mass itself as well, and like pushing into it and blowing out the top here. Interestingly, it's only on one side too. Not blowing out the bottom, blowing out the top. It's like the ring of fire. There's something really significant to the spacing of this, the way these are, that this one helps point to. Every time I see a huge shallogram, it's always significant. It's always significant. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, it's pretty cool in there. Oh, do we even see little gouged paths? Like current got into the rock through these little cracks that it cut. Could it be? It then went out over in these places. It's so crazy back there. I don't know what is going on. Very abnormal. This one, strange. Oh my god, just slice. What? And the way the top is. Oh my god. Yeah, imagine current is getting into this material, passing through it, removing some of the material, which is why it's creating like different colors. And as it does this, though, it physically pushes the boundaries of the pressure. Internal pressure of this structure is then filled by current flows that are actually propagating through it internally, pushing out its boundaries, that then are interacting with the eddy that is pushing in on its boundaries, etching, which is then creating this structure by actually pushing into resistance of this internal current that is taking a shape into the resistance of the external current, in a way where then the internal current actually leads to internal coloration like this. I feel like that's probably what's going on. Starts over here at the suture, where the suture kind of like reaches this thing. It's not really cutting through the stone over here with suture patterns. Right here it is. The suture cuts in, so it's got intense current here, especially. And probably beyond, but in terms of what we can see remaining, this is interesting. It looks like a really sharp, pointy lip that goes back down, but hard to say. It might be flat in the darker area, I guess. But anyway, looks though like the current generally got out of this area into here, and I'm wondering maybe it interacted like along the boundary like this, like boop, 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 because of like the way this goes down there, this goes down there, but where is it? In from here, across this way, up here, almost like it's going down, in, down, in, down, in, down, in, down, in, down, in, and interacting. Okay, I'm gonna head out. It's 1 a.m. I'm gonna head out. I've been streaming a while. It's been a pleasure, dudes, dudettes, anyone out there. Appreciate it. Hope it was enjoyable. And yeah, till next time.